And we got a piece that stuck in there right there. So we got the spring and the flap, and this is from the bottom of the filter. Where your filter goes, it's right on the bottom. These are notorious for breaking off and tripping your breaker. Here I have a filter canister. This is the top mount that's enclosed. You might have a different type of filter system, so it still applies as long as you can see the bottom of this. Now the flap that's on the bottom, the bypass valve, there's different types. And this is so common that these break off. You might have a flow problem, an issue with your pump. There's so many different problems that might come up because this breaks off. So I'm just going to show you how to remove this and replace it. It's not easy to take this out, so you might have to buy some tools. So if you have this type here, even if you have that other style, you still have to pull the filter out. Take the center out, and it's an easy check too. If you have an error code that comes up, like a flow code, just different flow problems, different issues, first thing I do is I check this. It might be in the impeller of the pump, or it might be tripping the breaker, and you might think it's a element. Sometimes it's that spring that breaks off. So it's right on the bottom, right there. So you can't reach the bottom normally, but I can. So it opens up. So when you have your filter in there on low speed, it filters better. So on low speed, it shuts. There, we'll shut it. So on low speed, it shuts, and then it comes up here beside the filter, and up and around. It goes through the filter and then down the center. When it's on high speed, it'll open up, and most of the water will go straight through the bottom of it. Some of it still filters, but it always filters better on low speed. There's two different types. This one here actually pops out that way. All of them, see the groove right on the bottom there? That long groove right here? That's where it comes out. So that style there pops out this way. And if you have this style right here, it sits like this. Okay, so when you're looking from the top, you'll see these two pieces here. And what you'll do is you'll try to bang that down and turn just quarter turn, just like that, and it pops off. Because this other part here that's holding it, there's a groove that sits in. So when you put it in, it clicks in place. So when you knock it out, and it's usually counterclockwise, so this way. So just knock it that way, and you should be able to pop it out. It's tough. A lot of times you have to get a long screwdriver, slotted screwdriver, a really long one, and try to pry it out. So any way possible. So this here will probably be missing. If you check and it's there, then it's not. No, it's not anywhere in the system. It's not your problem. Like, it's not a problem of with the flow or anything like that. But I like to check these because they do fail. These rust out and these break off. It breaks off right here. So for this particular one, you're gonna have to get a long screwdriver. This slotted screwdriver is way too big. So if you get one that's long, skinny, or something, like, do what you can to get it out. And you have to get down, and you have to try not to break anything that's in here. Okay, so even if you have to try to pry right in here to pop it out into this way, so you're pushing it that way. You're not pushing it either way, and you want to keep it in here. You don't want to lose that in there, or jam it anywhere else, or wedge it anywhere. So you're gonna have to try to get a screwdriver in there and pop it out. So the top part, once I get it out, I'll show you. Here we have actually a little bar. So a lot of times I'll try to get a bar in there and just push it out. It has to be a bar that's short, but it's not going to be pushing against here. So I might need one that's bigger. See, it just popped out. See? So if you get a bar that's shorter, so you have some kind of leverage, and just push it out. Okay, once you get it out, again, it has to come out that slot right here. And it's tough. And you try to go through right the center part. For some reason, when you put these in or take them out, it kind of down the center of it. Meaning, hang on here. There you go. So we got that out. What I mean about the center part is this part here catches right in here. A lot of times they're broken, but even when you put a new one in. So when you get it out, you basically, this part here has to go, you kind of turn it and about the center of it. So I think there's some less, you know, like for bending of the plastic. So when you put it in, you kind of put it straight, like right in the middle, down the middle of it, and you push it in and turn it. And then the same thing, you're going to have to try to wedge it back in. There's a groove on this particular one. There's a groove here, and it fits in right on the bottom. Here, I'll do it. You can't really see it. So right on the bottom there, there's a groove on this particular one right there. So that part fits in like that. Like if it's tripping the breaker and stuff like that, you might want to try to look for this flap first if it's missing. So if you check, if you pull your filter and you check this flap is gone, you're going to have to try that, find that flap. So if you open it up and you find this flap's missing, you're going to have to find it. So what you want to do, if you find that flap and it's in where say it's tripping the breaker, the only way you're going to know anyway if it's tripping the breaker, because you're going to disconnect that element and it's going to tell you that it's the element. But you won't know until you actually take the element apart, and then you'll see this flap. You'll see this flap that's in there, and that's what was tripping the breaker. But once you find that and you're going to put one in, you got to make sure the water's warm. Say it's running, get up to 104, and then empty it, and right away try to get that out when it's going down. When everything's warm, get that out. So get it out, order the piece, let it run. Like you can run it without it just not filtering that well. It still filters, but not that well. So order one. The parts are normally, the part numbers on that flap or on somewhere on the side. I don't know where this one is, but normally it's right on there. So for this one here, the number is right there. 206/51111. So this one's different. This one's a side one, and that's that style. So this style here, you can pop it right out. This style here, it's a little bit harder. A lot of times when you go to bang this, it breaks off, which is no big deal because you can break this one off and then try this side, but you're gonna have to try to, you know, when you turn it, it's gonna be turned like that, quarter, and it should wobble out. So you should be able to push it out and do what you can to get it out without breaking anything on this canister. If you want to try to break this part, it's fine. Get in the little pieces, get it out. And then when you go to put it back in, either one, when you go to put this back in, make sure that you stick them in the freezer. So you want this plastic to shrink a bit. So you put those in the freezer, and then what you want to do is, so when you put this back in, it's a way easier. Like I said before, because of this part here, I can't just put it straight down like that. Like I don't know why, but for some reason you push it in the middle part and it slips in. It's going to be like that. So I'm going to try to get in the middle, coming down like that. Okay. And it's tough. Like if it's colder, it seems to go in there a little bit better. So you're going to have to straighten that out. I know you can't reach the bottom, but like I said, you get it in the freezer, it seems to slip in there better. You get a little, obviously that bar is not going to fit in there. Well, you can get something that's going to fit in there. There we go, we got it in, and I actually cheated. But this was like, this canister is actually brand spanking new. So when you go take the filter out, you're going to have this ring at the bottom, and there's this glue built up on the bottom, and it sits like that. And most likely, when it's brand spanking new, that ring is very hard to get off. But over time, this will actually be easy. It'll just slide off like this. But normally these are glued on the bottom, but you want to get that out to remove that bypass valve. And then you have this other O-ring or this gasket like that. Get that part. There we go. and there's not one video on YouTube that actually shows you this here, even broken off. If it's the filter in your pump, could be in your pump. It all depends on where the filter is. Now if this filter, if the water's coming out and the front of the pump's here, and a lot of times the front of the pump's here sucking in water from the filter, and there's going to be a side suction probably where the footwell is, so you're sucking it in, it goes out, goes through the spa pack, and so that flap, if it breaks off, it's just going to go in front of the pump. So a lot of times you'll hear that rattling. You'll hear the rattling in the impeller. You could tell that something's in there. Most likely it's this. Other times where it might be seized, because this rattles around inside of it and then it jams it and the impeller can't move. Sometimes the impeller actually breaks off because there's so much torque. So if it jams it in there, and if the pump turns back on, it might just do that torque, and it breaks the impeller and the shaft just moves. That's another thing too. So yeah, these are a pain. Break off all the time.